I am so excited to have Mr. Rocky Detwiler. He has been seen on A&E reality TV shows, ESPN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, and heard on radio as well as podcasts around the globe. Rocky Detwiler is a high-performance sales strategist and the leading authority on the power of words. Rocky's personal story of complete loss and then triumph has inspired millions of people. He's a best-selling author, speaker, and accountability results coach with 35 years of experience in transformational living. Rocky shows you how the power of words will increase sales, shift your mindset, and positively impact your life in all areas. And thank you so much, Mr. Rocky Detweiler, for being here. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here and to share your testimony and how I guess God has blessed you in your life. I think that's fair to say. And
Yes.
yeah, we know each other because we are. I'm the founder and creator of the Deal in 9 Days Masterclass, and he's agreed to come down and speak and motivate our students down in Miami. And so, thank you so much, Mr. Detweiler, for being here. And I guess my first question for you today is, how do you become the foremost authority on the power of words?
Great question. Well, you just kind of have to go through what I went through and lose everything and then restart your life again.
Oh
So,
man,
yeah,
is there a
yeah,
better way, Rocky?
I don't know if I even want to say that no more, but yeah, you start thinking about that. Actually, it's interesting. I went through all your questions and I really had to think about them. They were actually very thought provoking, every single one of them. So the first one's really important because it's an authority figure. Anybody who's an authority means that they know what they're talking about. They've been there, they've done that. And so I wrote a book on it, which you can see to my right over here, called The Samson Effect: Transforming Lives with the Power of Words. So in order to transform his life, you probably have needed to do that yourself. So that's what I did. I've done it actually several times, more physically. But if you can transform yourself physically, you can probably transform yourself mentally as well, because that's going to be part of the whole transformational process. But when it comes to the power of words, it really kind of stemmed from when I was at my darkest point in my life, outside of just thinking about how to end everything. It was my God story, right? God was the anchor, kept me alive, and I felt like I had another reason to live. And that's one of the
Mm.
questions here too, right? What do you want to do? And so for me, I started thinking. I'd been thinking about what I had been seeing on shirts, what people were wearing, and at that time they were gothic and bones and skulls and dark. And I was like, man, I wasn't attracted to any of that. I really wanted to see positive. I wanted to see inspiration. I wanted to see color, and I'm driven to color. So I love bright, stuff. And so for me, I resonated with words, and so I started thinking about words. I started looking at words, and then my first company really was Samson Wear, and I put words on shirts. And actually my first customer was bodybuilding.com, which I'll share the story in one of the questions. But my story got launched, and I ended up selling apparel to them, and it was all inspirational apparel.
Mm.
So it's all positive words. So behind these three words are 24 powerful words, and I spent 100 hours just on looking at those. But how do you become an authority? You have to know what you're talking about. And so, kind of the way I tie this in is, I was alone. I was all by myself. And so I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be by myself. I wanted a partner. I wanted a best friend. I wanted a future mate. So I did what I teach and train. I started speaking about it. I started
Wow.
praying about it. I started thinking about it. In fact, I actually made 4 shirts and put them in my closet. Like, they were specific customized shirts for my future bride. And they went in my
Wow.
closet. Yeah. And so they sat in there for about 4 years, and I had specific details of what I was looking for. So in a future mate, so I wrote everything down on a list of, here's what I'm looking for, and it was like I'm the only one who knew that, right? What they were, all specific details, and then I would start speaking about it, right? Power of words. So I started speaking about it, driving down the road, talking about my future wife, right? I'd be by myself thinking about it. Then I started speaking about it. I'd be praying about it, Lord, and I'd go up to the mountains and I'd be praying about it. And all these, so I put all this action together before it ever happened. And so guess what happened when she showed up 5 years later, and she was everything that I spoke about, everything that I dreamed about, everything I had thought about, everything I wrote down. She showed up, and it's in my book, right? So it's like a real supernatural event, because it's I what Cheryl is, she is the manifestation of the power of words in my life.
Mm.
So it not only transformed my life, but I brought that into my life as well. And so you can do that in all areas. I just happen to do it with my future bride, and of course we're married and have an amazing life. It's been pretty cool. So an authority figure is somebody who can speak on a topic like I can on the power of words. But I have the background, I have the results, I have the experience necessary to talk about it. Plus, I wrote a book on it, and I have 2 companies based on it.
Man, that is powerful, powerful stuff,
Yeah.
man. That is amazing. Yeah, it says in the Bible, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and it
Yes.
also says, "As a man thinketh, so is
Yeah.
he." So I
Yeah.
that resonates with me, man.
Oh, that's great. You're speaking my language for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. All right, my next question is, in your work as a mindset coach, what
Yes.
have you found to be the biggest myth holding people back from their dreams, and how did you crack the code?
Excellent question. So I'm going to start off with a story. I was trying to figure out how to take my book to the next level. And I didn't know how, right? There are certain things in life that I know how. And if I don't know how, I find a coach and they help me do it. So I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching in my lifetime. And so I wrote a book and I'm like, great, now what do I do, right? Outside of having a little gathering at my house and selling, a handful of books, what do I do now? So I was led to an individual, and I'll just call him Steve, and he's got a large organization. It's worldwide, and he has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that follow him, and he's one of the best in the world at what he does. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but I felt really I was drawn to him, and so I had no money at the time, so I was pretty poor. But what I did have was great negotiating skills, and so I was able to negotiate my way into this opportunity. It still cost me some money, but credit card can help you out and get you there if you can figure out how to cover that first payment the first month. So I got started with the coaching and I went into it right away. Told me what to do, and I started doing that. Within a short period of time, I got a phone call from Steve, the guy. He called like saying, "Hey, thank you for joining." So it was really nice. And we had this short conversation, right out of the gate. About 5 months later, there was another event. There was an event, and I went to the event. And so when mindset came up, I'm going to share a story why I'm sharing this. So
Mhm.
we are in New York City, and we are at this event, and it's basically like kind of a cocktail event where all the people that are going to go to the event the next day, which would have been like a Tuesday, we're there on a Monday evening. So everybody's gathering, kind of networking, and he's highly sought after. So his time's super valuable, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I'm watching. We're sitting down, and I'm at a table, and I'm just watching Steve because I'm a strategic guy when it comes to networking, and I'm watching him. I'm waiting for an opportunity because he wasn't too far away from where I was sitting, and there was a break in conversation. I jumped right up and I went over and I introduced myself to him, and he said, "Oh, Rocky, we talked on the phone." Yeah, I said, "Hey, Steve." I said, "Hey, you're looking good," and he said, "Oh, well, thank you. I've lost a little weight, but I put it back on." He said, "Oh." And this is almost exactly how the story went. And he said, and I said, "Oh, why is that?" He asked me that. Why is that? I said, "Because you don't have me." Just looked him right in the eyes and said, "Because you don't have me." And he does this, huh? Just like that. I said, "Sure." I said, "You have all these coaches that I paid for and that I'm using, but who's coaching you?"
Mm.
And I mean, so we're talking, I mean, however long that's 30 seconds, right? That's my introduction to this guy. And he says to me, hmm, he says, "So what if I coach you and you coach me?" And he's $10,000 a day if you want to
Oh,
coach me. Okay.
wow.
Grand's day. And I said, "Okay, I could probably make that work, right? Posture, right? Posturing. I mean, here I am. I was broke just a few months. And so, anyways, so for the next year, that's what happened. And his coaching changed my life. But he called me, this guy, like one of the top PR guys in the world. And to put that in reference point, he would have people from all over the world, people like you, Curtis, people like me, entrepreneurs, want to write a book, have an organization, have a nonprofit. They would come to New York City, and he would have a room filled with producers. We're talking producers of Good Morning America, The Today Show, Dr. Oz, the biggest shows in the world
Oh,
would
wow.
be the producers, and you would stand in front of them and pitch your deal to them. So I went through 4 months of learning how to pitch my deal to these people, right? So I'm pretty good. I got good at pitching. I had to have a coach for that. And so, long story short, there is he called me his mindset mentor. That's
Oh,
where
wow.
that comes from. So, when it comes to the biggest myth, in my personal opinion, it's perception. It's understanding the value of who you are, what you offer, and how much you can ask for it.
Mm.
And I wish at the time I'd tell you an amazing story. It's like it's so cool, the stories, but it's a financial story too, by the way, because it's about the myth. And I'm not sure if I could tie it into one of these questions, but it's really incredible story for the people who are watching this.
Awesome, awesome. All right, thank you so much. That's an
Yeah.
excellent answer. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Says now you founded Samson Life and
Yeah.
Samson Wear. What was
Uh-huh.
your experience getting these companies off the ground after losing everything, and was it difficult to rebuild second time around?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't easy because everything's brand new again. I mean, just because you made it one time, it doesn't make it any easier. I just went through another fitness transformation. Now I've done three in my lifetime, at high levels. Like I'd lost a lot of weight, and it wasn't because I was a competitor, because I wasn't a competitor, but a bodybuilder. It's a guy who eats healthy and works out, and that's me. But there were a couple of things that I like. Really, there was one thing I did not know that I let let face me, and I ended up gaining a bunch of weight from that. So that's something I've dealt with in my lifetime, and I would have a tendency to put on an extra 30 or 40 pounds just like fairly quickly. I'm sharing that because it's an area in my life I didn't know that like this would happen, right? I didn't know how this would happen. So I've lost a bunch of weight again, but it wasn't any easier. It wasn't any easier. I still had to go to the gym. I still had to eat. I had to do all the same stuff. So, in regards to building a business, a second time or a third time, does it get easier? In some cases, because maybe you have some networking skills, you probably have some connections, you probably know some people. Maybe funding is easier to get. In my case, I started completely. I'd never built a business. I didn't even know what screen printing was, man. I was like, how do you put words on shirts, man? I had no idea how to do that. So I had to figure that out. I had to make a connection there. And then I had to figure out, how do you get a graphic artist? Who are they? What is that? How do you get the words on I didn't know any of this stuff. So I had to figure all those things out. You got to get an LLC and build a business there. And then you got to find customers. Then you have to go through the manufacturing. I mean, there's so many different phases, right? In that. And that's just one business. Then you have another business, which was Samson Life, which was the life transformational company, which was more education based, would be speaking, coaching, training, right? So completely different than apparel. So both those companies, Samson Life, Samson Wear, it's taken time, and they're still kind of growing, right? They've morphed over the years, but it takes time, right? It doesn't happen right away. Is it more difficult? I don't know if it's more difficult. It's just different than it was before. That's all.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
Now, staying on the theme of business, we obviously connected in the context of my real estate coaching business.
Right.
What's your perspective on real estate investing? Do you feel like there's a barrier to entry?
Yeah. First of all, for those who are doing it and a part of it, I think it's amazing because you know what? They're not building any more real estate these days, right? They're not building any more land. So whatever's out there, you got to pick it up, right? And so your interest is in real estate, then I suggest you get in and you figure it out. You become an expert at it and learn from the experts like yourself, right? Learn and do it. And do you feel like there's a barrier to entry? I think if there's a lock in your mindset, then yes, there is. But if you're open to growing, you're open to coaching, you're open to learning, then no.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Now, what's been a game-changing lesson you learned so far?
Um, One of the game changing lessons that I learned is probably the one I learned from Steve. Um, and this is where I'll share that story. So I realized that I had a power. There was power in my worth. There was power in my message. There was power in what I brought as a professional. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know that, right? And he had said to me, he says, like, because this was the guy who launched Chicken Soup for the Soul, who sold 500 million books, right?
Oh, wow.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's responsible. He's the marketing guy behind that. Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. He's the marketing arm behind that. And I could name a whole bunch more that have sold hundreds of millions of books. And he's the marketing arm behind that. So this guy really does know what he's talking about. So when we started talking, he's like, you are the power of words expert. There's no question about it because of your life, your story, who you've done, what you've accomplished, etc. He says you just have to believe it now, and that you're not cheap, you're not inexpensive. People should pay for your expert status because of what you've learned in life, right? And so I thought, that's interesting. So he set a challenge, and the challenge was who can have the biggest growth in this period of time. And if you have, and so it just we happen to fit within that time. And my wife says to me, she says, "Do you think we should enter?" I said, "Oh, we're going to enter and we're going to win." And she's like, "Really?" "Oh yeah." I knew what we had accomplished from the time we started to that date, right? And I thought, man, we've done a lot. I've taken the coaching, I've applied it, and I've seen the success from this. And it was $10,000 cash or a trip around the world. So this wasn't just some night out on the town. This was enough money to do something kind of cool. And so we sent in our video. We ended up getting a phone call. Steve calls me and says, "You won." I said, "Oh, wow." So here's what I did. I took the relationship. I didn't take the cash. I restructured the conversation and negotiated an opportunity to be his poster child, if you will, to his entrepreneurs around the world, to say, listen, you put out the competition. I answered, I won. Rather than give me the cash, why don't you bring us back to New York and Philadelphia when you do your events and let us speak on stage in front of your team and let them know what this is and it's real. And I hope you sell more packages. And guess what happened? He agreed. Of course, we paid off what I owed, right? So that was part of the negotiation. So now I owe no more money on the coaching. I'm still getting coaching, and I'm getting flown to New York City and Philadelphia on their dime. And I'm speaking in front of what would be my qualified future buyers if that was an opportunity for me, of which it was not in the beginning. So what happened was it was amazing. I helped him sell millions of dollars, Curtis, in product and services. And through the years, we developed a relationship where some of those customers became my customers. One of them in particular, which is what I'm going to address now, we're sitting at a round table. And this guy just happens to be the godfather of the breathwork industry. His name's Dan. We'll call him Dan. I have no idea what breathwork is, but he literally teaches people how to breathe. Okay. I know. That's what I said. I said, yeah. No, there's an industry. I said, really? So I'm super interested. I said, tell me a story. He's like, okay, I get flown down to the Bahamas. And the guy I'm working with, he flies down on his private jet, gets put up in the $10,000 a night suite. We work together. And I said, hey, out of curiosity, how much did you charge? And it was like $400 for that day. I said, $400. I said, interest. I said, if you were working with me, it'd be 10,000. And he's like, oh, no, really? And this whole conversation, that was pre-COVID. When COVID hit, no speaking, no training, none of this, right? So I went in coaching. Guess who my first phone call was? To this guy.
Yeah.
And guess what I pitched him? The same thing I said to him at the table. And guess what? He hired me, and I wasn't cheap. Okay. And so his first customer went from $400 to $10,000. Perceived value. The only difference was his worth. So those people that are watching this, you have more worth than you really know. There's more expert status in your life than you know. And getting that coaching from a professional like Curtis is well worth your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Now, switching gears to a more personal note, what or who inspires you the most? What's your favorite read, for example?
Well, it's my book. I love listen, I'm biased, man. I really do like my book. I really do. So here's a book that's not mine. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It was a game changer for me. The Slight Edge is really about one thing, right? It's focus on one thing. And I've done that, right? I've done it with my life, personal life, professional life. And it works, right? If you can focus on one thing, go give it your energy and make changes where you need to. And so that works. Some people can do, they say several things and they're, they can do that. Very few people I think really can, but if you're a multitasker, fantastic. But if you can focus on one thing, go become great at that. So that was the book. Who inspires me? Excellent question. I would think that people that are closest to me in my life actually inspire me. There are great people that are on all facets that that have inspired me, whether it's the Russell Brunsons of the world or even our president, whether it's my dad has inspired me. He's not around anymore. My dad inspired me. My wife inspires me. My pastor inspires me for various reasons. I would choose my pastor because of the life that he lives, and that's what I want. I want to have a life like he lives, and he's just close to God. I have my wife who inspires me because she's learning piano and she's learning a brand new language, and she has like these things that she does every single day, and it's like is amazing, right? She has like a whole list of things. And it's like she's able to get them incredible, right? So I would just say with those several right there, is there anybody big in the world? Any heroes? My heroes are close to me, right? They're in my little circle. And I take from those things and I start using those and apply them to my life and my personal life.
Awesome, awesome. Now, where's the most fascinating place you visited in the world and why?
Excellent question. Vanuatu. It's in the South Pacific. And I was thinking about this, where are all the cool places in the world that I've been to some cool ones. But Vanuatu, I love the South Pacific. First of all, I'm a diver, so I love diving, love being under the water rather than on top of the water. Um, and so I was at this place, and it was way offshore. It was on another island outside of Vanuatu. So if you're looking at the South Pacific, there's Fiji Islands and there's Vanuatu Islands. They're not too far away from each other. They're both in the South Pacific region in the Pacific. And so I just remember being and they had thatched hut. You want to say that right? Thatched hut, like they were made out of like straw, right?
Hmm.
Kind of most of these little houses, and they don't have a whole lot. Just not a whole lot at all. And the area that we were in, down by the water, the rocks were like real super jagged, almost like volcanic ash, where you and me, we could hardly walk across them with shoes on.
Hmm.
And I remember I'm trying to figure out how to get into the water because I got dive booties on because I got to go across this. And there were little kids that were running across these rocks, just like it was nothing, with their bare feet and diving into the water. And I can barely walk across them to get into the water. I thought, this is so different. Like it was blowing my mind, right? How could that happen? And these kids are so happy, right? They don't have a care in the world. And as I'm looking around, I'm trying to get in the water, but I'm looking around. I'm looking at, some of the people in the area. They had the happiest lives, Curtis. They
Mm.
were so happy because they don't have the cares of the world like you and I do have, man. We have technology and we got computers and we got homes and we got houses and cars and all the cool stuff. They don't have all that, man. They just kind of have to go figure out what they're going to eat for the day, and it's just a simple lifestyle. So yeah, it kind of really got me to ground zero, like on what's important in life. And these kids are all happy. The whole family, they're happy. Like they're happiest people in the world. Hula, they're super happy. It's like wow, this is amazing. So uh, it's pretty cool for me to see that.
Man, I would love to visit that. That sounds like an amazing location, amazing
Really
people.
was. It's a missionary trip, and it was a lot of fun. It's great event.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, future pacing. What legacy do you want to leave this world with, and what are you working towards right now?
Yeah, great question too. So, um, for me, I just came back. We go to a small little non-denominational church, and for me, I just want to I want to make a difference in people's lives. We are down in Chile. You asked the question, so I'm answering it. And it's interesting. I would see people that I couldn't speak their language, but we'd be at maybe a dinner table, and I'd be looking at another a guy, and we're trying to communicate, but then it just like our eyes would connect, and there would be something you're saying, but you're not saying it, and so the heart speaks pretty loud sometimes, and I think that for me, I want to leave people better off than when I found them. And if that's spiritually, I said some uplifting. If it's just natural and I can motivate, inspire someone to be better, to grow more, to do a little bit more, to achieve a goal, to hit a dream. I was just on the phone with someone today. On June 20th, they're going to be doing something for kids that are really struggling, going into foster home and dealing with teen suicide. And I shared with her, you should have me come up and let me talk to them about their future, about the courage to connect with other people, right? Because some people don't want to really connect, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, right? So in that conversation, I left her better off, on one call, right? And so I'm always thinking, how can I help someone? How can I better their life? That somehow, in some way, right, they're going to be left better off because they met me, and hopefully God's involved in that. And if for some reason He's not, then they'll see it through my life that I live, Curtis. That's always my hope. And what are my dreams, goals for the future? Cheryl and I are really fortunate because of the life that we have. We travel a lot. Just got back from Chile, and this year I don't know necessarily where we're going to go, but I'm continuing to keep working on speaking, training, workshops, working with organizations like yours where I can help people grow, because I have a whole lifetime of that, and most of them have been failures, and I've really, I've failed in so many different areas, but I would learn from that. I remember working with Dennis Conforter, who built a multi-billion-dollar organization. And he said to me, he says, out of all the people I've met in my lifetime, Rocky, there's something special about you. And what that is that when you learn a lesson, you learn it, you figure it out, and you don't make the mistake again. You are better the second time. And I thought, wow, that's really good. I said, I said, oh, that's one of the areas in my life. If I screw up and make a mistake, that I want to be better from that. So our mistakes help us grow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, last question. How can people find you?
Well, I'm easy to find. You Google me, Google Rocky Detwiler. I own the first several pages of Rocky Detwiler. Like
That's
super
impressive.
easy to find, man. I'm not really hard at all. RockyDetwiler.com. I mean, I have that on Facebook and LinkedIn and I think Instagram. I mean, so I'm everywhere. So you can just go to RockyDetwiler.com. I mean, I'm super easy to find. People really want to find me. I'm easy to find. That's probably, I don't know if that's a good thing, but really, I am. I'm not hard to find at all, man. It's RockyDetwiler.com, and you can find me there. I'm on Facebook. I have Rocky Detwiler, Robert Detwiler. I'm on LinkedIn. Come find me there as well. So, I'm an easy guy to find, Curtis.
Awesome, awesome. Is there anything I could do to help you?
I think the only way that you can help me is I'd like to help. I'd love to help you with your team and with your organization. I want to help it grow. So my goal is to find a way to help partner with you to help your organization. I believe I have some assets, which are my experiences in life. And it's interesting, right? So when I was in New York City and Philadelphia, I was mingling with high-end individuals, okay? Because to go there costs a lot of money. But these people are already successful in other areas of their life. They went there to become a speaker or sell a book or something. What I did that was different, that they all had the chance to do and that they paid for, was get the coaching. What I did, and the reason we won that challenge, by the way, was that I took the coaching and I applied it.
Hmm.
Most people, they don't always do that. And so because of that, right, I took the coaching and I applied it. And so I was showing up at the same event these people were getting the information from, and later became clients of mine that I could coach and train in. So my goal is to always take what I've learned and then help other people grow in those areas. And that's of interest to me, like my health and fitness, right? Here's the thing I was sharing with you earlier. I did not know that our bodies had fat cells that had memories. I didn't know that. I had no idea, Curtis.
Hmm.
Our bodies, if you lose weight, right? If you don't keep that weight off, your body will gain that weight back. And that's what I've done. So I'm like, this is the last time I'm ever doing it. So I can coach and train people where I couldn't before. Now I know, as an
Hmm.
example.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Mr. Detwiler, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Shout out to you, man, and your wife. Thank you for all your
Thank you,
time.
Curtis. I
Words of
appreciate
wisdom.
it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for the time. I appreciate working with you, and I look forward to more time together with you, Curtis.
absolutely, sir. You have a great day.
Thank you, you too.